Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great. Yeah. So welcome to this webinar on Google Cloud Security Masters Program conducted by Network Kings. I will be your instructor today. My name is Rohit Mishra and I'm working as a cloud security deployment engineer, having overall 10 years of experience. And I have been certified with Google Associate Cloud Engineer, Professional Cloud Security Engineer, as well as Professional Cloud Architect certification. And today we'll discuss on this program of Cloud Security Masters. So let's continue. So basically about this program, which is GCP Security Masters program, we have divided this program into 3 courses certification track. So if you can see in this diagram, we'll start with GCP Associate Cloud Engineer, which is a basic to intermediate GCP service skill certification course, I will say. And then we'll move to Professional Cloud Security Engineer, where we will deep dive into the GCP security services. Like these days, when we are migrating to cloud, security is the topmost concern for any industry. Because if the data resides inside your data center, you have the control. But whenever your data move to someone else's data center, like we can say cloud is nothing but someone else's data center, then definitely you will have to follow more security controls. And then finally, we'll move toward GCP Professional Cloud Architect, in which we'll see the things from architect perspective, solution design perspective. So this will be the 3 modules in our security masters program. Now to start with, we will start with GCP Associate Cloud Engineer. If you'll see on Google website, the basic starting certification they mentioned is Cloud Digital Leader. But we thought that it won't be a good start because that certification doesn't require any technical expertise. So we have chosen this Associate Cloud Engineer. This is for technical persons who want to grow their skills in cloud technologies. But if we consider from GCP recommendation, this certification is for someone having 6 months of cloud experience. But not to worry, we will design this program in a way you will be comfortable taking this exam without having any prior cloud experiences as well. So I'm moving to the next slide. Like who should enroll for these certifications? Again, someone having experiences deploying cloud solutions, cloud application monitoring tools, someone who's already working in cloud enterprise environment. And the target audience for this course will be cloud engineers who are already working with cloud, software engineers who want to move to cloud administrators, suppose who are working on some other cloud technologies like Azure, AWS, or want to learn GCP, on-prem network security and database engineers. Like most of the times I have seen, like when we are applying for any job these days, it will be a hybrid type of job description they will provide. With the on-prem network and security knowledge, they will also expect you to know cloud security and networking. Because these days, each organization has hybrid type of setup, like they have their own data center as well as they have migrated to cloud also for few of their hostings. And every organization want to save some money, like while hiring some engineers. So if they got a package in a one person, like who knows on-prem as well as cloud security, that will be the best hiring, I will say. And finally, this course is also for anyone who want to develop his skills in GCP. So what to expect in exam? So this is something which I got from Google official website, but I have break down into some basic, like understandable format. So this is the format which I prepared for this examination syllabus. We are focusing only on Associate Cloud Engineer in this webinar. So 20% of this exam will be based on setting up cloud solutions. So what is basically setting up cloud solutions? Like creating a project and managing the billing. There are more things also, but yeah, at a high level to understand, like most of the questions will be how you create your first project or how you create your projects in production environment, how to set up billing, how to export billing information, what amount of billing has been done till, like suppose in a period of time, what is the expenditure you have done on the cloud services. So these type of things will be covered in setting up cloud solutions. And then planning and configuring a cloud solution. Like in planning, what you will plan is what VM types you need. So VMs are the virtual machines which we build on cloud. So suppose every time there will be a different requirement. If you want to build a Linux VM, there are multiple types of machines are available. Like if you want to build Debian, Ubuntu, RHEL, which is Red Hat Enterprise, CentOS. So multiple flavors are available there. So this comes to planning. Like being a cloud engineer, we should know to advise a client which machine will be best suited for their application. Then storage type. Again, we will know after completing this course that which storage type will be favorable for which environment. And finally, the networking. So what sort of networking setup we need to do so that this VM and storage will be able to communicate with internet as well as the on-premise enterprise environments. And then deploying and implementing a cloud solution. So once we have done the planning, like what sort of VM we'll use, which storage technology we'll use, how networking will be set up, then finally deploying these things, like running these VMs, running storage, Kubernetes, which is a very famous service provided by GCP, and other services in the cloud. So 25% of your exam will be based on these type of questions. And then ensuring successful operation of a cloud solution. So basically, a cloud engineer should also be aware of once the applications are deployed, once the storage services are deployed, you should be able to manage, monitor, and perform the logging. Like suppose you have deployed a cloud solution, you have deployed one application into the cloud, and there are some errors after deployment. Then you should be able to fetch the logs, like what are the errors. Suppose a network connection is not working. So we should be able to identify what are the source, what destination for which this communication is failing. So these type of questions will be approximately 20% of the examination. Then finally, which is the most important part, is configuring access and security. So in any cloud provider, you will see there will be a very robust identity and access management. So that not only like suppose you want to access a virtual machine, there will be some that level of granular security provided that only a certain function of virtual machine you can access. Like you can access only IP, you can only do the IP changes. You can't do any VM level changes. So this type of things we can manage using identity and access management. All these things we'll see forward, like coming forward in this webinar. So this is something in short, like what is the ACE syllabus approach. And moving toward back to my video. So yeah, we covered these things, like we covered all these 5 sections and their weightage according to the exams. And then like I have prepared this cloud service provider customer growth. So basically why we should learn GCP at this stage, because we already know AWS is the market leader. Then what is special in GCP? So I went to two websites like on internet. So I found this, like if we compare the last year growth, which is 23 to 24, 2023 to 24, customer growth of the cloud provider, you will see that AWS has grown 25% in terms of customer growth, and GCP has grown 23%, and it has surpassed Azure also, which grows only 14%. So this is really interesting to see that GCP is expanding its network very quickly, and learning GCP will definitely help us in near future. Like in coming days, you will see most of the jobs related to GCP as well. It's already started. So before starting our actual webinar, I want this meme to be focused on. Like a child is asking to his dad, what are cloud made of? The father is replying, Linux servers mostly. So the idea behind this image is, if you want to study cloud, you must know Linux. So I will recommend you, like if you are starting your cloud journey, you first start with the basics of Linux, and you will find plenty of videos on YouTube. And there are excellent videos from networkings as well. You can go through them and at least cover the basics of Linux, like how to work on a Linux machine. Otherwise, it will be difficult in your cloud journey. So the focus topics for this webinar will be understanding of GCP regions and zones, and then GCP organization hierarchy, how GCP projects are created, how the hierarchy has been maintained inside GCP. Then we'll create our first GCP project today. We'll see what are the VPC network types and how to configure them. Then we'll create a custom subnetwork for our project. And then we'll build one virtual machine, which is a compute engine, using the custom network which we have created. And then we'll create a firewall rules to protect this VM. And after this infra is set up, we'll install an Apache 2 web server on this VM and access it via our local machine, which will be this PC. And at last, we'll cover some few sample Associate Cloud Engineer exam questions. And what I have did is I have picked only 4 questions, which are related to these topics only. So it will be interesting. Like if you go through this all explanation, which I will provide in some time, you will be able to answer these questions. And this will give you a understanding like what sort of, and those questions are actually which are already came into the GCP Associate Cloud Engineer exam. So it will help you to understand what is the gravity, uh, how tough is this exam, or if it is easy for you, because if you know these things, then it will help you to decide like which certification part to take. So first of all, GCP regions and zones. So basically GCP services are defined in regions and zones. Look, what are these regions? If we consider one example here. So basically, suppose I have one application, this blue color thing you are seeing, it's application, and I want to host this application in GCP. So when I go to GCP or I ask some their salesperson or someone or some experienced GCP solution provider, so what he will ask me to choose one region. So basically, GCP has its presence across the globe, and you will have to choose the region nearest to you geographically. So if I go to Google website, yeah, this one. Suppose I want to do a hosting in India. So if I zoom it a little bit, you will see in India, the blue dots indicate the GCP regions, current region with 3 zones. So in India, they have their regions in Delhi and Mumbai. So if you want to choose GCP and you want to host your application inside India, then these are the 2 regions you will have to choose from. And if you want to choose it across globe, then yeah, all these 40 regions are available to choose from. So basically, regions are the logical entity. So in region, you won't host anything. So like if it's a Mumbai, so in Mumbai, your services won't sit. Services will be actually sitting inside data centers. So, and that data centers are called as zones. So regions are just identification, like, yeah, my services are hosted in Mumbai region. But when it comes to ground technicality, we'll say it is hosted in one of the zone of Mumbai region. And Google, by default, you will see most of the regions will be divided into 3 zones: Zone A, Zone B, and Zone C. So let's take an example like how this zone and region is useful for a customer. So suppose this computer is a client and he has hosted one application in, he want to host his application in India only. So scenario 1 we will take where he has choose a single zone. So what he will do is, suppose he is residing in Pune. So from Pune, Mumbai is near geographically. So what he will do is he will choose Mumbai as his region, and in Mumbai region he will select one zone. So basically in Google format, Mumbai is donated as Asia South 1 because we fall into the south of Asia. So inside Mumbai region, which is Asia South 1, he will select one zone, which is Asia South 1A. As I said, there are 3 types of zone, A, B, C. So he will choose one of those zones. But the problem here is, suppose everything is working fine, but suddenly there is some power issue or some catastrophic damage here in this zone. So he won't be able to access his application because this zone is completely down. So this is not a right way of deploying the application. So then what he will do is he will consult again someone and he will get some information like, yeah, you will have to go via multi-zone concept. So in this time, what he will do is inside the same region, Mumbai, he will choose 2 zones, Zone A and Zone B. These 2 zones are different data centers. You can say it as it's a different physical data centers. So if something happens to this data center, your traffic will be still live through the another data center. Suppose in this case, this zone went down, but still this client will be able to access his application because he has copied the instance of the application in the 2 zones, and he can maintain some sort of load balancing. So let's say this zone 1 fails, we still have the access to this application via zone 2. But suppose something happened and this complete region went down. It's rare, but yeah, it can happen. So if suppose complete region went down, then yeah, again, and if its application is very critical, he won't be able to access that. Then again, he will think more and he will go with the concept of multi-region. What he will do is, he know that his application should reside within India only. So what he will do is, he will choose two regions inside India. And we already know that Google has only two regions inside India, which are Mumbai and Delhi. So Mumbai is denoted as Asia South 1 as per GCP standards, and Delhi as Asia South 2. So what he will do now is, he will host his application in zone 1 of Mumbai and another in zone 1 of Delhi. So in this case, suppose complete Mumbai went down, but still he will have access to this application via Delhi. And there is what we can say, it's impossible that two of these GCP zones will go down at the same time. So via following this multi-region approach, he will make sure that his application will have theoretically 100% connectivity, I can say. So these are the idea behind zones, like why zones and regions are used inside GCP. So I hope this is clear. If anybody has any questions, they can ask. If not, I will proceed. Okay. So the next point is GCP organization hierarchy. So within GCP, there are some hierarchy it maintains. Like when you are doing some free trial, you won't see this type of hierarchies. But if you go to some organization GCP console, you will see this hierarchy in place. So what is this hierarchy? So at the top, it will be organization. Organization is the name of your company you are working in. Suppose you get hired in one of the company who has deployed GCP. And if you open the console of your organization, you will see at top, there will be some organization name. And suppose it's a ABC company, so you will see ABC at its name. And below organization, there will be some folders. Like definitely one organization will have multiple departments, finance, HR, and other department, technical department, sales. So in folders, you will see all those departments type. For this example, I have taken department A and department B. And actually, I have seen multiple departments. You will see like hundreds of departments will be there, because 100 types of different areas your company is working at a time, if it is a big company. And then suppose we'll take a simple example, only two departments are there, department A and department B. So inside department A, then you will see the projects, which are the GCP projects. And most of the times you will see these type of projects. It's a software lifecycle. Like they will first do a development, then they will do a testing, and once the testing is done, they will launch a prod project. And inside the project, finally, you will have the resources. So whatever we are discussing, whatever we will create today, like virtual machine, subnets, VPC network, all those resides under resources. So this is the hierarchy, which we'll see in the console also in few time. So now let's move to GCP console now. We'll see practically on how to achieve the target for today's demo in GCP console. So let me open my GCP console here. Yeah, so this is the GCP console, and I have purchased a free trial. So it's actually free. If you have a credit card, you can apply for your one user ID. You can get one free trial for 3 months. So here, if you want to create a new project, first of all, I will show you the organization hierarchy. Here you can see it says no organization, because I am not bind to any organization as of now. It's the free personal trial, which doesn't have any organization. That's why projects are directly listed under organization. But if you go to some real world or any enterprise environment GCP console, you will see an organization name here. Then below there will be folders, and inside the folders you will see a project, as I shown in the PPT. So if you want to create a new project, you need to click here. Then you can name it like demo GCP new, something like that. And organization we can't select because this is a free tier. And then we can click on create. So any action you provide in GCP console, it will be seen in this under this notification tab. It's a bell icon. If you will click it, you will see that it's a green color saying create project demo. So it's green, it means it's created. So if I go to the project, so above here, beside this hamburger menu, you will see the project section. Here you can scroll between your projects. So this is the demo GCP new, which I have created now. So if I clicked on that, it will go into that newly created project. So you're saying it says compute engine API because this is a new project. So we'll have to do everything from start. So let's say suppose I go to VPC networks. So if you want to build a VM in GCP, there are few considerations. Like first of all, you have to create a VPC network. Inside VPC network, you will have to create a subnet, and using that subnet, you will build your VM. So VPC networks are nothing but a logical space you will get onto the cloud, and VPCs are available globally. Suppose I have created a VPC. So this VPC can be used anywhere across the globe wherever GCP is providing his services. Suppose if I create a VPC now, I can create one VM in India and another VM in US, UK, anywhere across the globe. If I click on VPC network, yeah, it says enable. We can enable it because by default compute engine API will be disabled, and without enabling this API, you won't be able to do any projects or any task in GCP console, we can say. So basically in free tier, it takes some times usually, but in production, it will be very fast. Okay. So what I will do is I will use one of the existing project, as this is also a brand new project. I have not did anything inside this, so that it will save our time for today. So let's say I have to create a virtual machine. So what I have told you is to create any infrastructure, you will have to first create VPC. VPC is something, a logical space you will have to create for your project. So I am into this project, and if I go to VPC network, you can see by default, Google gives a default VPC network, which has 41 subnets. So this default networks actually contains the subnet across the globe. Like it has 40 regions. We are saying 41 subnets are there. So if I click here and I go to subnets, you see subnet for all regions are there, all 40 regions. But the recommendation is don't use default network. Use network according to you, like whatever hosting you need to do, you need to create your own VPC network. So above you will see a tab of create VPC network. In the create VPC network, we can put like custom VPC network. Description you can give, or it's not mandatory. So here it says subnet creation mode, custom or automatic. If I choose automatic here, it will again go to the default one, which Google already provides, but I want a custom network. And inside custom network, we can edit subnet. We can add. So basically we have created a VPC. Now inside VPC, you need to create a subnet. Using this subnet, we will build our virtual machine. So I will give this as VM subnet. Here you have to choose the region. So let's choose Asia South 1. And then we need to provide the IP address, like in which IP address we want to build our virtual machine. So I will provide this IP as, because this will be sufficient. 24 is very big subnet. I need only one. So private Google access, I will disable it now. I will keep all default values because this we need to discuss later in our, like when we study ACE certification in details. So for this demo, it's good. Like we have created one VPC, which is custom VPC network. Inside VPC network, we have created one subnet. Whenever, as I said, VPC is a global entity. So VPC is not bound to any any region. You can see we have given the name VPC network, and it has not asked us to provide any which region or where we want to launch this custom VPC network. If we create a VPC network, it's a global entity. It will be available everywhere. But when you create a network, which is a subnet, then it will ask you to provide a region, because network resides under data centers. And that's why we need to provide a region here. So I need this network in Asia South 1. And then I will create, selecting all the default values. We can check the creation progress here in notification tab. It's still creating. Yeah. So our custom VPC network is now created, which has only one subnet. And mode, you can see it says custom. It's not the automatic network which Google provides. We have created the one for our use. And practically, if you'll see any organization console, you won't see any default network, because organization design their network according to their needs. So that's why I have choose custom VPC network for this demo. And now we have already done 2 steps. We have created a custom VPC network, and inside that VPC network, we have created one subnet. So if you want to see which subnet we have created, you need to click on the custom VPC network. And here you will see all these details. So if I go to subnet, you can see VM subnet, which I have given the name, and I have added this subnet in Asia South 1. So now if you defined your subnet in Asia South 1, then your resource should also be in this region only. Suppose I have created this in Asia South 1, I can't create a resource in US East or US West or even Asia East also. So the region in which your subnet is residing, your resource should be residing in that region only. So this we need to take, keep in mind while creating anything. Otherwise, you won't be able to troubleshoot like why it's failing. So now if I go to compute engine, in the VM instances. So inside compute engine, you will see multiple topics are there, but we are interested in creating a virtual machine. So that's why we clicked on VM instances. And here, as you can see, this is a blank project, so nothing is there. It says create instance. So we'll create an instance here. We'll give it a name, demo VM. And here the region. If I select it as US West 4, it won't work. Let's see, like because I have created a subnet in Asia South. So it should be Asia South only. I will open it in a new tab. Okay. So this is the network we have created, VM subnet, which is in Asia South 1. And while creating VM, what I did is I used US West 4. So let's see whether it works or not. So like planning, which we have seen in the course description, like syllabus of the Associate Cloud Engineer, what sort of planning. So these are the planning you need to do. You can see these many series of virtual machines are available. Now it's the responsibility of cloud engineer to suggest like which virtual machine suit best for the requirement. As this is a very simple demo I want to do. So what I will do is I will choose a very low space machine so that it won't cost much. Currently, if you see, if I choose E2, and E2 medium with 2 virtual CPU, 1 core, 4 GB memory. It says $28.65 monthly. Suppose if I go and select E2 micro. So whenever you are doing any lab, always select the lowest possible things. But yeah, at least select that lowest, it should work. Otherwise, you will select very less memory and it won't even boot. So E2 micro, 2 vCPU, 1 core, 1 GB memory. It says only $8 per month and hourly only 0.01, which is negligible. So we can do multiple labs using this virtual machine. So that's why I have choose this one. And in networking, we'll have to select the advanced option. Yeah, so in network interface, network, it says default, but we don't want to use default network. But you can see there is no option of custom network here. So this is a catch. So why we don't have any custom network option here is because our custom network is sitting in Asia South 1. And if you want to host your virtual machine, you will have to choose this region only because we have created a custom project. It's not a default project. So that's why what I will do is from here, I will change it to Asia South 1. Yeah, which is Mumbai. And in zone, as I said, there will be 3 zones, A, B, C. So you can choose any one of them. Let's choose C. Now we are in the same region where our subnet is sitting. And if I go below now, in the network interfaces, I think I need to refresh. Okay, let's refresh. Now what I will do is I will choose Asia South 1 here, which is Mumbai. And it says region is permanent, zone is permanent. Once you have configured a VM with this information, you can't edit it. Let me choose E2 micro, which is the lowest memory. And now go to advanced options in networking. Add network interface. We need to delete this default one and we'll add a custom VPC network. Here you can see now we are getting the option because it has not refreshed. That's why it's not showing. Custom VPC network it's showing. And in this custom VPC network, we have only one subnet, which is a VM subnet we created. VM subnet 10.1.10/24. So if you are hosting your virtual machine inside the custom network, then you will have to do everything from start. It won't give you any IPs, like whatever IP you have configured, you will get those IPs only here. And then other things we can keep default for this basic lab and we can hit create. It will take some time to boot the, yeah, it was quick, I guess. Yeah, so the green is saying this instance is running. So this is now okay. But as we build this VM into custom network, there is no firewall rules. And by default, inside GCP project, by default, you will get a firewall. So to access that firewall, you will have to go to VPC network and this firewall. And here you can see GCP firewalls are applied to network within project. So in this project GCP demo, we have seen that there are 2 types of network. One is default network and one is custom VPC network. So by default, Google will give you some firewall rules, but all those firewall rules will apply to default network only. But in this case, we have created our own VPC network. So we will have to use a new set of firewall rules for our network, because if you see, there is no rule for custom network available. And that's why this VM will be able to communicate to the external world, but someone from external world won't be able to access this VM. So in GCP, it is called as ingress and egress. So ingress means anything coming into GCP, and egress means anything going outside the GCP. So by default, anything going outside from GCP will be allowed, but anything coming inside GCP will be denied. So let's say it. We'll create a firewall rule. We'll name demo VM firewall. Logs will turn off because this is a demo project. Yeah, you can see it's asking, it's a mandatory field to select a network. So for default, there is already a firewall rule, and creating a rule in a default network won't help us because our hosting is in custom network. So I need to select this and I will see custom VPC network. So yeah, now whatever rule we are creating here will be applied on this custom network. And then direction of traffic, ingress and egress. As I told you, like anything coming inside GCP is ingress and anything leaving GCP is egress. And by default, ingress is denied. Anything coming inside GCP is denied by default. So that's why we need to allow few rules to access this VM from internet. And tags. So in GCP, like in normal firewalls, what you do is you add a source IP, destination IP, and destination ports, and the action like allow or deny, and it works. But GCP is little bit different. Here the targets are actually defined as tags, and this tags directly goes to VM. So this is more secure, I can say, because it's not a network layer firewall rule. It's a rule directly applied on virtual machine or instance. But for now, we won't discuss that. We'll choose all instances in network. Means anything in this network inside VPC, custom VPC network, which is this complete subnet. This complete subnet 10.1.10/24 will be our destination. So you have seen I have not mentioned any IP addresses. I have just said all instances in the network. And in the source filter, I want anything coming from internet. So for now, I will choose this. It says all, in source all. But this is not a good practice from security point of view. But yeah, for this demo, we can do this. And then it comes to protocol and ports. Allow all you can select, or you can select specified protocol and ports. So let's select specified protocol and ports. So we'll see what sort of activity we want to perform this virtual machine. So first activity we want to do is we want to do a SSH into this virtual machine. So we need to allow port 22. And after that, the motive is to build a Apache web server. And we know that web server default works on port 80, which is HTTP. So I will allow 80 as well. So I think these two ports will be enough. And then we can hit create rule. And you can also see in enforcement, it should be always enabled. If it is disabled, then adding this rule won't help. The rule will be created, but it will be disabled. So that's why we should always see it should be enabled, and then we can hit create. Okay. Now, apart from default network, you can see there is one rule of custom VPC network. You can filter this, like in network, you can type custom and hit enter. Sorry, spelling was wrong. Okay. So you can see in this firewall, VPC firewall rule, I have only one rule related to custom VPC network. And this is a demo VM firewall ingress, anything coming inside GCP. Apply to all, we have applied this rule on the complete subnet which we have created, which is this VM subnet 10.1.0/24. And it says allow the traffic on port 22 and 80, 22 for SSH and 80 for HTTP. So now let's go to our VM, compute engine, virtual machine. So this is the VM, and by default via console you can do a SSH. So here you just need to click on this SSH button, and as the firewall rule is already there to allow port 22, it should work. Yeah, it's asking allow SSH in browser to connect to VM. So you need to click on authorize. It will take your credentials and it will allow you to log in into this virtual machine. So now I am into this virtual machine. So first of all, what we need to do, that's why I said basic of Linux will be helpful here. We will do a sudo apt update to update the package. Now we need to do sudo apt install Apache 2. Basically, we are installing a Apache 2 web server on this virtual machine, so that we'll see whether it actually works over internet or not. Yeah, it's done. Now, what we can do is we can test this Apache web server first. We need to select this IP. Okay. So now what I will do is I will just paste this IP into this URL bar. Yeah, you can see Apache 2 Debian default page is coming. So my Apache web server is live on that VM. So now what I did is I prepared one small file, I will say HTML file, so that you'll see something nice in that virtual machine. So now to change the default path of the index.html, what we'll do is we'll go to that folder. So index.html, like whatever we can see in this web page, actually this is loaded in this path. It will show here also. Somewhere it will be written that, yeah, you can see var.ww public HTML, whatever we can do, we have to go to var.ww. There we can see all these informations, like why this web page is showing like this. So let's go to that folder, var/ww/html. So this is the path. If I do a ls, there is already index.html. And if I do a cat to this index.html, this is the same thing which we are getting on the web page. So I want to remove this because we will add our own custom. So to remove any file, we have to select sudo rm and then this file name. Paste it. It's removed. Now if I do a ls, there is nothing. Now I need to add my own default file, custom file, sorry, index.html. Vi is the editor we'll use to add our file. And if I copy my HTML code, which I have created, yeah, this is the HTML code actually. So this HTML code says, I want to highlight on the web page that welcome to the networking's webinar on GCP. And then the second line will be, this is our first HTML web page, source code at var.ww index.html, which we have already browsed through and came to this folder. And then I want to display, we have successfully configured a VM and GCP and installed Apache 2 web server. So let's see whether it's work or not. So to exit from a VI editor, we can do a :wq. Yeah. Now the new file should be there. I can do a cat to this file. Yeah, you can see I have deleted the old file and added the new HTML file. So let's go to this web page and refresh it. You can see the new file is not reflected here, which says, welcome to the networking's webinar on GCP. This is our first HTML web page. Source code we already know. It's here. We modified this. And we have successfully configured a VM and GCP and installed Apache 2 web server. So this happens because we have created a ingress rule in the firewall. And that's why that rule helped us to reach to this VM. Now suppose if I go and edit this firewall rule and I remove the port 80, suppose. And now if I try to access that virtual machine, it should not work. Yeah, you can see it's loading. So if I try it into the new tab, yeah, it won't work because we have removed the firewall rule. So we can see how quick GCP firewall rules take his actions, like, and we don't have to go through multiple processes to add or delete a rule. It says this site can't be reached. Now what we can do is we'll go to that firewall rule and we'll add that port. Okay, so it's done. To verify, we can go to the notification and it says update firewall rule and it says green. So this task has finished. Now we'll go and refresh this page. Yeah, it's working again now. So in this way, we can create a firewall rules which direct gets applied to a virtual machine. So let me go back to this webinar page, and here I will go back to the topics which we want to discuss today. So here you can see what we have done is we have done a basic understanding of GCP regions and zone. We have understand how GCP organization hierarchy is there. We have created our first GCP project, and then we have seen VPC network types, which are two types of VPC networks, default and custom. And then we have configured our first custom VPC network. Inside that VPC network, we have created a custom subnetwork for our project, which we hosted in Asia South 1, which is Mumbai. And then we spin the first GCP VM using the custom network. As this was a custom network, so default ingress deny was there by default by GCP. So anything coming toward VM will get blocked. So that's why we have configured a firewall rule to protect the VM. And then we installed Apache 2 web server on VM and modified the index.html file to show our custom web page. Now we'll move toward few sample is exam questions. But before that, I want to show you something. Like learning cloud is not alone sufficient. Like you have seen what I have did today is I have configured a VPC network, subnet, and VM, and I did everything manually. Like I went to each of these GUI sections and I have configured it. But in a production environment, this won't help because you will get a task to create hundreds of firewall rules. You can't go every time in a GUI and keep creating firewall rules. So there is second option to use a G-Cloud utility. So this is the G-Cloud utility. So what I will do is I will create one rule using this G-Cloud utility. And to learn this G-Cloud utility, Google always give you a recommendation. Like you can see, it says equivalent rest. So these things you can see, like Google will give you the hint, like what you need to do. So first of all, what I will do is I will delete whatever I have created, because if we are doing a lab, we should delete the infrastructure which we have built. Otherwise, the billing will continue and it can space up all your credits. So that's why, first of all, I will delete this. So I have created one VM, which I have deleted. Yeah, it takes some time. Meanwhile, I will go to VPC network. And to delete the VPC network, we can go to custom VPC, and here there's a tab to delete VPC network. As this is critical in production, so that's why it's asking us to confirm the network name, so that by mistake we won't click on a delete network and it will get deleted. So yeah, I have done this. So now coming back to our slide, to start with cloud, yeah, GCP Associate Cloud Engineer is the best way, as we already discussed. But only learning cloud won't be sufficient. Most of the times you will see in organizations, they don't even use G-Cloud, they will use Terraform to automate the cloud build. So whatever things we have done in this GUI in say last 50 minutes, these can be done in less than 10 minutes using Terraform. And the same thing can be repeated for multiple firewall rules, multiple VM creations. So it really makes our job very easy. So networking offering for this course will cover the GCP Associate Cloud Engineering course. Along with, we will cover the Terraform basics as well as GitHub basics. So parallelly, you will be learning cloud in the enterprise way, like whatever the actual cloud engineers are doing in the real environment, you will get a feel of that. And by the end of this course, you will be comfortable deploying your infrastructure over GCP using Terraform. And with the help of GitHub, GitHub is very powerful tool, source repository tool, I will say. And with the help of GitHub and Terraform, what we can do is we can build our CI/CD pipeline so that whatever changes we made in our code, it will get directly reflected to our infrastructure. So it won't delay anything. We just like, we don't need to go to Terraform and do init, apply, plan. Everything will be automatic. So these all things we can do by going through this Associate Cloud Engineering course or this program, this GCP Security Mastery Program. So now finally, we'll move to the sample ACE exam questions. So these questions, as I already said, are based on the webinar topics which we have already covered. So now the first question is, and these questions already appeared into the ACE examinations before. So this is really helpful. You need to create a custom VPC with a single subnet. The subnet range must be as large as possible. Watch what range should you use. So you can see these options, and this is a basic networking question. But yeah, you can expect this type of questions also in ACE exams. So the subnet range must be as large as possible. So if I see all four options, A, B, C, D, so /16, /12, and /8, and this is any. So this is not a valid subnet. So the largest subnet in these four options is this one. So you can see, like, having some basic networking knowledge will also help you to excel in these examinations. And your VMs are running in a second question is your VMs are running in a subnet that has had subnet mask of this. The current subnet has no free IPs address, and you require an additional 10 IP address for new VMs. The existing and the new VMs should all be able to reach each other without additional routes. What should you do? So basically, here are the four options, like use G-Cloud to expand the IP range of the current subnet, delete the subnet, create a new project, create a new subnet. Like if I delete the subnet in a production, this will be very difficult because other resources may be live on that subnet and I can't do that. And here the motive is to expand the subnet, which it's a /28 subnet, and we need to expand it to /27. Within a one single command in GCP, you can do this without disturbing the existing infrastructure live on your subnet. So this is first is the right answer for this, using G-Cloud to expand the IP range of the current subnet. And then the third question is, you have a virtual machine that is currently configured with 2 virtual CPUs and 4 GB of memory. It is running out of memory. You want to upgrade the virtual machine to have 8 GB of memory. What should you do? So these are the four options. Rely on live migration to move the workload to a machine with more memory. Use G-Cloud to add metadata. Stop the VM, change the machine type. And stop the VM, increase the memory to 8 GB and start the VM. So this you can do like anytime into the lab environment. If you want to increase the memory, then you will have to stop, because increasing the memory you can't do while the machine is running. And the last question for today is, your company has received a new project where it needs to migrate on-premise servers and data to Google Cloud gradually. But until then, you need to set up a VPN tunnel between on-premise and Google Cloud. Which service you use in conjunction with Cloud VPN for a smooth setup? So your company is trying to migrate a project to GCP, and they need a VPN setup between on-premise and Google Cloud. So if I go to each option, Cloud Content Delivery Network, CDN. So this is something which says complete cloud hosting. So it is not useful. Cloud NAT is used to reach to internet from cloud subnets. So this is also not useful to connect with on-premise environment. Cloud Run is used to deploy applications. This is also not useful. So Cloud Router is something as our on-prem routers. Cloud Router also do some routing capabilities inside cloud. So that's why if you want to connect two different networks, again in cloud also the same concept of on-prem networking is there, which is a cloud router. So that's all. These are the questions. Now, finally, a quote which inspired me the most is, it's from Leonardo da Vinci. It says, "I have been impressed with the urgency of doing. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do." So if you want to learn something, don't just think that, yeah, I will learn. Start doing it. And let's see the magic. Because if you will start learning today, definitely you will get your milestone achieved as soon as possible. So any questions? Okay, if not, then thank you very much for this session today. And if you have any queries, if you want to know more regarding this GCP Cloud Security Masters program, please reach out to the email IDs and phone numbers given on this screen. Thank you very much. I see one chat. Yeah, I see from Pavan Pandey about, could you tell us about the course fee structure? Yeah, you can definitely get in touch with the sales team and they will help you with these queries.